If you want Colts talk all year long, you're in the right place.
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown. He's going to fire upfield. It's broken up. Tipped and intercepted by the Colts.
This is the official Colts podcast, giving you an updated look at what's new with the Horseshoes.
Colts have it. Interception. 2 seconds left, and the Colts are going to win.
In the Indiana Union Construction Industry radio studio, let's get the podcast started.
Welcome to the official Colts podcast. My name's Jeffrey Gorman, joined by Larra, Overton, and JJ Stankevitz, who is brought to us today by our friends at Pro Football Focus.
What?
Do you like that?
What are we doing?
Well, I know you're a Colts guy, but I mean, we're going to refer to a little PFF before the day's over.
I didn't have PFF once in the rundown. I have DVOA.
I know.
And I
We'll
put
get
in the
to
rundown, Jeffrey, make fun of JJ for the letters here.
We will get to that, but right now, kind of a heavy-hearted moment that we have had recently. This is coming to you at Tuesday, and the Colts have just released a statement regarding one of their favorites. And Larra, I'm going to talk with you. You know this young man. You've known him since day one on here. You got to know his family, the impact that he has on the field and off the field. The Colts have officially released linebacker Shaquille Leonard, and really a tough day because we were joking before that we started recording on. It's not joking, is Larra, this is tough because this is a gentleman that you work with and I cover, but at the same time, this is a buddy. This is a family friend.
It truly is, and we've had many very candid, heartfelt conversations over the last few years with everything that Shaq has been through, because I covered his rookie season before I was part of the organization when I was working at the local affiliate and part of the beat, and then coming in since 2019, have always had a very strong connection with Shaq and just learning about his story. And we have spent so much time talking about that story and sharing that story. And I remember going into training camp when we sat down with him for Behind the Colts to hear from him on what that entire offseason had looked like for him to try to get back to being on the field after the multiple surgeries and setbacks and everything that he's endured, both physically and then mentally and emotionally as well. And he so openly discussed what those weeks would look like during the offseason after he left from minicamp, and when he would fly from Lakeview, South Carolina to Tampa to get specialized treatment and train and rehab down there over the course of the week, and then fly back to spend the weekends with his two daughters and his wife, Kayla. And Kayla has been, his high school sweetheart. They have been through everything together. She is totally his rock, and he talked about how much he leaned on her. But he also told me he was working with this special neurologist for the issues that he was having and all of the needles. I mean, daily. It was 75 to 100 needles daily for some of these procedures that he was enduring simply to try to return to football and play at a high level. And I remember asking him, do you somewhat have to remove yourself from trying to be what you once were and feel validation instead from playing the best football that you can now? And that might look differently from what it did your first two seasons in the league. And you've seen such evolution from him in that period of time. And you've heard him be very vocal about the struggles that he has had. And just, off the field and everything that he has done community-wise. I mean, he's, the face of so many of the Kicking the Stigma promotions because of how willing he's been to share his story. And I remember hearing from him last year that when he was doing an appearance on behalf of the team, there was a security guard who was working the event who sought him out and said, "Hey, I wanted to let you know I was considering ending my life. And I heard you speak about the struggle that you had been through, what you'd suffered through, with depression and all of that, what you've been through your family. And it made me feel like that there was hope for me." And that is one of probably hundreds of stories that are out there with the impact that Shaq has had purely off the field, numbers aside, tackles aside, takeaways aside. And there are so many other stories that are not public, that are not out there just like that. He poured absolutely every bit of himself into being the best Colt possible. So it is disappointing that it ends in this fashion. But I know that this is not the end of the story for Shaq Leonard.
For sure. And here's a story that you guys don't know about that I want you guys to talk about because I was in that content department. He was released earlier today. A couple hours later, the statement come out. What does Shaq Leonard do? He comes down to the content department where your office is, and my office is, among everybody else's office, and says, hey, guys, I just wanted to say goodbye. I've been released today. That is baffling to me because this is a top-of-the-line player in the NFL where egos sometimes come into play. I don't want to talk to anybody. Screw you, screw you. No, what does he do? He goes back to guys like you and Larra and says, thank you for everything.
Not just us, though. I want it to be known, too. He came back, and Kevin Connors, who's filming this episode, was one of the first guys he went up to in there. And it was everyone.
Hugged everybody, by the way. Hugged everybody.
He has impacted positively so many people within this organization that he wanted to go and say a proper goodbye to. It's a sad day around here.
It really is.
It's a sad day.
And the way that he forced turnovers and when Eberflus was running the defense, they were setting records on everything like that. The question is, Larra, we'll get to you on this, but JJ, why now? Why now for this move? Why now for this transaction of a captain? Is it, and I'm hoping it is because we haven't heard from Chris Ballard or anything. We saw statements from Steichen, Irsay, and Ballard not. But is this to be to give him sort of an olive branch that says, hey, your reps are down here. Go win a ring somewhere else, perhaps.
I mean, you look at his snap count. He's playing about 70% of the snaps. That was the lowest he's played, as a player, and he was coming off the field on third down. And, he was vocal about it in the locker room. Mm-hmm. He was not happy with his role, and I think on one side of that is he shouldn't have been. He should have tried to do whatever he could to get in those positions, but he also felt like he wasn't being put in the best positions by the defense to go make the kind of plays that would get him on the field on third down. It's a situation where, maybe he goes and he gets picked up by a contender. The Colts, I think, are a contender. We're going to get into that. Sure. But by a team that, maybe has a need for an every down linebacker. Because right now you look at Zaire Franklin and E.J. Speed, and those are two guys who you can put on the field on every single play and trust that they're going to go out and play at a high level.
For sure.
And I think from a coaching staff and a team perspective, that trust had eroded a little bit with Shaquille Leonard. And the thing that I don't want to get lost in all this is that the surgeries that he had, that Shaq had in 2022, like Larra alluded to, the rehab from them, those were serious deals.
Yep.
We're dealing with nerves. You're dealing with, trying to get the nerve to regenerate in his leg. And there's nothing you can do rehab-wise. You can do a lot of other things around it, but the nerve kind of has to regenerate on its own. And when you're talking about nerve stuff, Shaq put in the time. He put in the work and the hours and the time away from his family to get back on the field. But this, to me, my gut reaction is this is a cruel ending to Shaquille Leonard's story in Indianapolis because it has nothing to do with him as a person, as a player, as a teammate. This is his career here in Indy got robbed by injuries.
By injury, absolutely.
And that sucks because he's such a good player.
Yeah, signed a huge contract, and hopefully we're going to see that out. Larra, how does this affect the locker room? That's a leader. That's a guy who wears a captain on his jersey. How does this move affect that locker room? You're going to find out tomorrow when you're in there. But just off the top of your head, what does this say? What's the message to the players in that room?
Well, I think that it means that there are a lot of other people who are going to have to stand up from a leadership standpoint because although his numbers may have been down and they have found ways when he was off the field to continue not just playing at a high level, but raising that bar. When you look at the season that Zaire Franklin is having, what E.J. Speed has done, the emergence of even Segun Alubi in the opportunities that he has had within that linebacking unit. I think now you look to who's the fire-up guy around there. Who you would always see. Shaq was the first to leap up and celebrate everybody else, on that defense. When you think about those epic moments at Lucas Oil Stadium, right when they're getting ready for kickoff, and what does 53 do? Every time he does that charge to the south end zone and yells to the fans, come on, it's in every promo. Like going into that game in Germany, you saw it. Like NFL Network was playing that promo on and on where you'd see him yell. And I think that there is a level of, okay, so they have to have some more of these hype guys, around there. And there are guys who are certainly capable of doing that and who do that. But you do get the sense that he was kind of the most electric, outspoken, vivacious one from the sideline perspective, hyping up the crowd, hyping up the guys on the sideline, doing all of that. I do think that it's a blow to this locker room to see it go this way. I don't think, though, anyone in this locker room is going to be fazed by it because they're all such professionals, and they all know this is a business, and they have certainly seen the frustration mount for Shaq and the way that he's voiced, some of the discontentment in terms of the message was, hey, let's get to – this is we're doing this to protect your health, and we're looking long term. So we're going to get to November, and we're going to see. And then November comes, and not much changes, and then Zaire's out for a game, and it doesn't allow the opportunity for Shaq to have more playing time.
Alube came in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
So I also think that all of these guys are going to kind of understand what led to the decision being what it is, and they're all going to hope nothing but the best that Shaq gets that next opportunity in due time whenever he's ready and with whatever situation is the best fit for him. But I do think that everyone will be able to probably react tomorrow, but you have really no time to dwell on this because you have a 7-game stretch ahead of you, and it gets no tougher than the first game out of the gates against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming off of Germany. JJ, go ahead before we talk about those Bucs. The last thing I was going to ask you, and then you can go into your point is, does this mean more snap count for 45 for AJ Speed? I mean,
it does.
For instance, to get that playmaker on the field?
I think this gets EJ Speed on the field more. What I was going to say is in these moments – it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in, okay, he played 9 games, he had 65 tackles, he didn't have a takeaway this year. The maniac that everyone's going to remember in Indianapolis is not going to be the guy we saw on the field the last 2 years. No. It's going to be the guy we saw on the field the first 4 years of his career. AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, 3-time first-team All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2022 Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. That's the Shaquille Leonard, the guy who had 8 forced fumbles in 2021. That was my first year here in Indy. That is one of the most incredible seasons I've seen by a defensive player ever. Full stop. What Shaq did that year, his knack for getting the ball out and taking the ball away. It sucks that this is the point that we got to.
Right.
And it is nothing to do, to me, this is all about the injuries with Shaq.
It certainly is.
And it's a shame. He is unfortunately not the first a great player to have his career impacted. I mean, you think about Bob Sanders, someone like that.
The greats.
The Shaquille Leonard that everyone's going to remember here in Indy is the knockout king, the maniac. That's who they're going to remember, not the guy who has struggled to be that guy. Because you think about the play that sticks out to me. This year was the screen pass to Ezekiel Elliott in Germany, where Shaq, his mind read it. He had studied it. He read it immediately. He broke on it, and he missed the tackle. And I watched him after it. He just pounded the turf, just didn't
normally get that one.
Yeah, and normally that is a play where he blows up the back. Maybe he gets the ball out, something like that, and he couldn't make the tackle. And it was almost like his mind. His instincts, they're all still there, and his body just couldn't get there.
Was that first quarter?
Yeah.
It was maybe the first or second New England series. Mm-hmm. Did you know he switched cleats after that?
Really?
No.
I reported it on the radio broadcast, but I mean, everyone was talking about how soft that surface was, and not to say this is why, but it was just interesting to watch.
He switched up.
I saw the same
That's good
thing.
context, yeah.
Yes, he did. He went back to his regular cleats. He had gone, a lot of the guys had switched to their heavier cleats because of how those conditions were over there, and everyone was kind of trying it out because it was that hybrid surface, so everyone was working it through during warm-ups and everything. So Shaq went with the heavier cleat, and then right after that, so frustrated obviously at missing that play, and I think also the doubt that puts in your mind, that seed of doubt, whereas had I been in different cleats, would I have made that play, or is that just me? So then it goes back to his standard cleats, the regular blue ones, and played the rest of the game with those. So that was something interesting that I observed, because I talked to him pregame for quite a while. And, that's one of the things that I'm going to miss is, we would spend time each and every game day, chopping it up beforehand, and think about going to Carolina and what that game meant to him, and just reflecting back on that. So, yeah, but interesting context because of that play. I observed the same thing, and I was really curious looking back, if he'd played with the other cleats earlier, would he have made it? Or is this just an indication of kind of
where he's at?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Shaq Leonard, we love you and absolutely wish you the best and find out wherever he ends up. And it was funny, one of the comments he had earlier as people were huddled around, he said, I might see y'all at the stadium. If I don't hear from nobody up to that point, I might be up there in the rafters just watching some football. So that's the kind of guy in the love
Hey,
for
come join the radio broadcast. You know, you want to sit in, be
We'll put you
analyst,
on.
you know.
He can come up and do a guest third down up in the PA booth.
Put him on the PA. Could you imagine?
That's just the kind of guy, and I'm glad I had you two to talk about this because you are so intimate with that locker room and these players. So thank you for the insight to both of you, especially you, Larra, with all the family connections that you have to him, and JJ, you breaking down his career. So life goes on in the NFL. We must move on. And then what happens now? And by the way, last week, if you missed the show, they had Chris Ballard sitting here. Now this week, you guys get me.
Wrong.
So,
Actually,
sorry
Chris
about
Ballard was
that.
in the chair. We
well,
gave
whatever.
Chris Ballard
you know
the chair.
what I'm saying? It's like I'm gone for one day. You guys bring in Ballard, and then the clown show comes back. Gorman's here. So anyway, those Tampa Bay Bucks are awaiting. The reason I'm bringing that up, JJ, something that you brought up earlier. 7 to go. 7 to go. This team is 5-5. If you can go 5-2 with those last 7, you got double-digit wins. That spells playoff. But it starts with Tampa Bay, and I'm going to throw out some flat just thoughts that I have on this guy. I like Baker Mayfield. I really do. I know he's played for 100 teams. I know he's the number 1 overall, and he let so many people down, but he's a gamer. You hear Tristan Wirfs, a guy that's blocking for him, said the passion, and we always have a chance with him in the huddle and stuff like this. But, JJ, this is a game the Colts must win to stay in contention. Yes. And not only that, you're doing it in your backyard, at your house. It starts with Tampa.
Yeah, every game down the stretch is going to be big. But to me, this one almost tells you, are you serious about it or not? Because you're at home. Next 2 games after this are on the road. You've only won 3 games at home since the start of the 22 season. You gotta protect home turf to make a playoff run. And Tampa's a team, they're coming in at 4-6. They're still in the thick of the AFC or the NFC South playoff race. But yeah, you got to win this game. And Tampa's a team that, on one hand, their offense, baseline, you look at them and you go, well, they got Mike Evans, they got Chris Godwin. That's probably not a good matchup against the Colts cornerback room. By the way, Colts corner's been playing pretty decent lately.
Yeah, absolutely.
I look at it and I say, the Colts have struggled to defend the run since Grover Stewart's been out of the lineup. Tampa is dead last in the NFL in rushing offense.
So you'd think they're going to have to chuck it to beat us.
So, well, theoretically, but if they can't run it, does that help us in the passing game? So I actually don't think it's maybe as bad of a matchup as you might think. And now Mike Evans is a great player. He's going to get his. But think about it kind of like how, when Tennessee came in and the Colts basically said, we're going to shut down Derrick Henry. You can throw it a little bit on us, but ultimately we're going to, that's going to kind of kneecap you. Maybe this game flips it and say, we're not going to let you throw it on us. You can run it if you want. I don't know how that's going to go. But again, I just kind of wanted to get that. I don't think it's as bad of a matchup as, you might think, just like player to player.
Larra, we got thoughts. We got 7 weeks left. We got this team. We have Gardner Minshew in there, and that is the quarterback from here on out as far as I can tell. I don't see somebody coming in. I know Sam Ellinger's out there like this, but this is a team that we have talked about on this podcast that if Anthony Richardson starts the game and then can't finish the game, and in comes Gardner Minshew, things become wide open and real slow for Gardner because the defenses are set up for stopping his 255-pound guy that can run or pass the football. Gardner's not that guy. It becomes tougher for these pocket type of quarterbacks, and I know he can run some RPO. The next 7 weeks.
Spin move, he can throw it in there, yeah.
What do we need out of our quarterback the next 7 weeks? Let's be honest about this because some days, great. Others, not so much.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
That ugly win in New England, we'll take it.
There are 2 things. You need consistency, and then you need just to take care of the football, right? Those are the 2 things that you need moving forward from Gardner Minshew. And, guys, think about when you look at just this past weekend, with everything that went on with quarterbacks, look at Joe Burrow in Cincinnati, look at Deshaun Watson in Cleveland, 2 teams obviously that are in a playoff hunt right now, looking to make that push throughout December and into early January to secure those spots. And now you lose those guys, and the Browns are signing Joe Flacco after starting a rookie this week. And I'm not sure. I think the Bengals have their backup who they're going to roll with.
Yeah.
I mean, how brilliant of a move does it look now to have invested in Gardner Minshew when you did?
Right.
You know, so I do think, too, that that's a huge credit to Chris and to Shane for having the foresight to be sure you shored up that position well before even knowing who you were going to draft or what this rookie season was going to be for Anthony Richardson. And I think that, you know, moving forward, you're going to have to heavily rely on this run game, you know, and I'd like to see that balance return. We obviously saw JT carry the much heavier workload against New England, liked where it was maybe 2 and 3 weeks prior to, where you had, you know, more of a balance between both Zach and JT, because I think that for the lack of having to defend a quarterback run, which obviously Gardner Minshew does have mobility, you know, not to diminish what he's able to do with his legs, but to have versatility at the running back position when you can wear down defenses in 2 different ways with 2 very different type of runners, I think that is an asset that you do want to continue to invest in moving forward. But, you know, have loved what you have gotten of late from Josh Downs and the clutch playmaking ability that he has shown as well with this stretch. Like, moving forward, he is going to, I think, continue to be and has earned a heavier and heavier load within this offense. And you knew going against New England that he was going to be limited because of the injury, you know, that he was battling through. Didn't practice all week. Told coach, I can give you 15 to 20 plays. Came in on those late downs, and no pun intended, was exactly what you needed him to be in those situations. So I do expect that there's going to be a lot more attention paid to number 1 in addition to number 11.
Well, the other thing just on Moss and Taylor, that was something that Chris Ballard mentioned on the podcast last week with us, Larra, that, kind of got a little out of whack against New England, and that'll get fixed. Like, you're going to see more of Zach Moss. You're not going to see it just be JT. The thing that I go back to now when I'm kind of digesting what Chris told us, and in light of the Shaquille Leonard news today, is he said Shane isn't fazed by anything. That, this is the circumstance. You lost your starting quarterback in week 5, the same week that your star running back came back. They're on the field for 2 plays together this season. All right, you've had offensive linemen coming in and out. You've had cornerback depth, really needing to be tested. Now, okay, one of your team captains just got waived on Tuesday. And he said through all that, and obviously the Shaq stuff happened today, but just through all of the ups and downs of a season, Shane has stayed the same.
Good.
And, okay, all right, no woe is me, no complaining about it. Just how can we go win a game with the guys who are going to be on the field for us?
Which brings me up. You guys talked about it. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Cade Otton. These guys, Rashad White, is it? Rashard White? Rashad White, good running back who can play. I know they're last in it. Don't get me wrong, though. But big receivers. Release me to a guy like Juju Brents when Chris Ballard said, hey, I'm going to get we're going to get long cornerbacks. It's ideal to face these long receivers with those guys. Are we going to see Juju on Sunday?
That's going to be a good question. His practice status to me is going to be really, really important this week. Just because you would like to see him match up against Mike Evans. Not only because it's better for the team, but I just want to see that. I want to see what Juju can do against a guy who, for my money, should probably be a Hall of Famer someday for the consistency he's had over his career as a 1,000-yard receiver. I'd love to just see what he could do against him. And I think Juju's the kind of kid who doesn't back down from any challenge. He's going to scrap it up against whether it's Mike Evans or, a guy who is maybe less established. It doesn't matter. I hope he plays just to, for obviously it helps the team out, but just I want to see it. I want to see what he can do.
Like, one thing I asked Zaire Franklin, in addition to a number of guys, 2 weeks ago, was if takeaways, in particular interceptions, are contagious. When you look at what Kenny Moore did against Carolina, and then Julian Blackmon and Rodney Thomas did against New England, I think that those guys have played at such a high level the last few weeks. It's so encouraging for that group that was doubted for a significant portion of the year to see the way that those guys have risen to make plays.
Stat time.
Here we go. Let me have it.
The Colts are one of 2 teams in the NFL to have a takeaway in every single game this season.
Nice.
It's them and the Chiefs.
Okay.
There you go.
Good company right there.
That's pretty good. Chiefs have pretty good defense.
Okay, in good company there. I had a great thought I was coming back with right now.
Yeah.
And then just lost it.
Oh, no.
I had
Good one. Just
to
let
get
me-
that
just
stat
let
in
me
there.
Grab it
You just
for
work
a
through
second,
that. Yeah.
really quick. I'm going to work through that. But when we're talking about Tampa Bay coming in, defensively speaking, Levante David, I think of and stuff like that. They're pretty good though. This team
Yeah.
defensively is pretty good, and I know we're on the home turf right there. But I got it. I'm sorry
Okay,
about
what do you got?
this. And it's for both of you. I did a little research on Alec Pierce. He's having such a similar year this year to what he is last year. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, he's a downfield threat.
And last year we
Yeah,
said,
aside from that, like, the game-winning touchdown.
yeah,
and-
And then last year we said, wow, this kid's great. This kid's but in your second year, you want the jump up. Well, the jump up hasn't exactly happened. I know there's been a quarterback carousel of sorts like this. Do we need in this final games a above and beyond an Alec Pierce and a half, basically, is what I'm saying, for this team to have success, to really have that wide receiver? That Gardner's going to look to. Obviously, Downs is there, and depending on who's playing at the tight end position and stuff. But Alec Pierce from here, how important is his role from here? Downfield, not only that, but really taking the stats that he's been building on, which has been very pedestrian and compared to last year, but really having to amp it up. Are we at that point with this receiver?
I think we're at the point where you just want to see him consistently gain confidence, because I think with Alec is you see that the more reps there are, the more targets that he receives, that's where you start to see, like, it's hard to go quiet and not have a catch in a game or 2 games, or be, very limited in your role, and then it's a huge moment and you're expecting, you really need to find that consistency. And I thought that you saw a big spike in his confidence last year when he and Matt Ryan connected on a number of situations, and they would do it game in and game out, and you would get him involved really early on. I think it's difficult, especially for a young receiver in his second season, where, okay, you're dormant the entire first half, and then finally you're getting a look in the third quarter. So I think from a confidence building standpoint and establishment of this offense, I do think you would like to see him be more heavily involved in this 7-game stretch.
A little
moving
extra
forward.
weapon.
And
A little extra weaponry is what we're saying.
And the defenses you're facing, for the most part, kind of lean toward being able to do that.
Which we're going to get into,
Well,
yes.
so that brings me to my next point.
Bring up those percentages. I want stats.
You want a percentage? Okay.
Yep.
Tampa blitzes on 48.6% of their opposing passing plays. That's the second highest rate in the league.
So half of the passing
Per
plays
my
they're
guys at Pro
blitzing.
Football Focus.
Right.
Yeah, basically half. Usually when you blitz, you can do a lot of zone stuff behind it, but sometimes you're going to leave your cornerbacks one-on-one. And if you do that, hey, throw it up to Alec. See what happens.
That's what I'm saying. Just somebody to get it in. I love these stats, and we're coming with JJ Stankevitz. Follow him on Twitter, formerly known as X. No. Follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter. That's at Larra Overton, at JJ Stankevitz, and, of course, at Colts.com. Heavy news today. I also got to remind you, the owner, Jim Irsay, is featured on HBO Real Sports tonight, so people are going to be talking about that. Shaq Leonard is a lot going on in this Thanksgiving week. I still have to get to some Thanksgiving eats stuff that we're going to talk about at the end of the show. But, JJ, one stat that pointed out to me on the rundown that I love, and please help us with this.
Yep.
33% chance left, 33% chance that this team, 3 out of 10 chances, we are going to make the playoffs from here on out with 7 to go. I like those numbers because, as Larra said, we're not facing the 85 Bears defense a lot through the next 7 games.
There's the context for those numbers. So
you don't have the Niners, the Eagles, Chiefs.
Yeah, like the Bills
Cowboys.
do. Yeah,
Right.
that's basically what the Bills
You
have
know?
coming up. The Colts have the easiest remaining schedule in the AFC,
Hi-oh.
according to your guys at DVOA.
Yeah.
OAR.
Pro Football Focus.
OAR, yeah.
REM.
311.
TLC. What are you
Dave
talking
Matthews
music
Band,
here?
DMB.
Yeah. What is OVAR?
TBD.
DVOA, it's been around for a while. An advanced stat, tracks efficiency.
Yeah, give me it. Digitally visualized.
I believe it's
on-ramp. What is it?
I forget what the D stands for, but value over average.
Value over average.
Yeah.
Distinguished.
Determined value over average.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Whatever
Give me
it
the
is, whatever it is,
DVOA.
though, these are good numbers.
Okay.
They're good. They're solid. They've been around for a while.
If we can understand them, they're great. But just give me the DVOA on
So
this.
the Colts, according to that, the opponents that the Colts will face down the stretch are easier than any other team in the AFC.
Love that.
So, and look, there are no easy games, especially when
and
you're
you're
in.
just 2 weeks away from getting Grover Stewart back.
Mm-hmm.
That is big. because the Colts with Grover Stewart, I'm going to throw another stat at you.
Have it.
The Colts with Grover Stewart on the field or on their, on their roster were 13th in EPA against the rush on defense. That's expected points added.
There we go.
Without Grover Stewart, they're 32nd.
Yeah, big difference there.
That is no slight to any of the guys who've stepped in for Grove, but man, that just shows you the impact that Grover Stewart has.
2 more weeks with no Grover Stewart, and then he's back on. If we can get by here with a couple of these, I don't care how they win them.
Cincinnati game, right?
Yeah, you wish the Cincy game and the Tennessee game were flipped.
Right.
You get Grove back for Tennessee. But this defense is a chance, and like I said, they're turning the ball over, and if the Colts offense doesn't turn the ball over, they are going to win games.
Larra? I brought up Alec Pierce. How important is Jonathan Taylor? How important is Zach Moss for these last 7? They say to run the football as we're getting closer to the winter months and stuff. But my point is this. Is that the key of this offense from here on out, regardless of what look you get defensively?
It has to be, because really when you look at winning the turnover battle, the running backs have done their job in protecting the football. Over the course of this season, starting out, week 2 when Zach Moss came back from the broken arm. Aside from week 1, running backs, ball security, these guys have been stellar in every fashion. So I do think when you look at, especially what your offensive line has given you, use those guys. This offensive line is playing at the highest level that it has in 2 years, JJ? And now you have a healthy Jonathan Taylor for the first time in probably, 2 years as well, with everything he went through last year. And now you have this great compliment to him in what Zach Moss is able to bring you. So that's going to afford you much more opportunity, much more variety in schematically what you can bring in your run game.
JJ? I want to talk some more percentages with you.
Okay.
I really do.
Yeah.
I want to talk more Pro Football Focus. I want to talk about that, but something's more pressing than that. We will not have a podcast on Thursday because of the holiday. And I want you guys to know that Dave will not be on here. It's not happening. Celebrating with the family. You've got a young family around here, Larra. I want to get into yours too, but I want to stick to Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I know you're a master chef when it comes to cutlery and whatnot with that. Who will prepare the meal for the Stankevitzes this year, and what will that meal consist of?
Did you bring back wurst for
Are you
everyone?
just going? Are you going
wurst.
chalk right across the board? It's cranberry, it's turkey, it's stuffing, it's mashed potatoes.
We're going back up to Chicago where my mom's family is for a little family Thanksgiving on Thursday. But previously, I'm a big brine guy for the turkey. So you get an ice bucket, water, ice. You throw some spices in. You could throw some citrus in if you want. Maybe a little bourbon could go in there, whatever it might be.
Drunk bird, okay.
Yeah, and you dunk the bird in it overnight. Usually try to get about 24 hours. When it's a little too warm out, you got to put a lot more ice in that bucket because you obviously don't want the bird to spoil.
Sure.
But you brine the turkey and you cook it low and slow.
Low and slow? That's the way
to go. It's the best.
How many times a year do you eat cranberries?
0.
So you don't even eat it.
I don't even put it on my plate in
Don't even
Thanksgiving.
put it on your
It's wasted
plate.
space.
Are you kidding me?
Hello, are you traditional on that stuff? Are you eating cranberry at the sauce?
I
And by the way,
love cranberry sauce, but it has to be.
Where are the Overtons this year, and what are you cooking, if anything, this year?
So this is a shout out to one of my favorite places on the north side of Indy. This is not a paid advertisement, but what I always take for Thanksgiving is the classic Sam's coffee cake.
Oh, okay.
So-
Love the Sam's coffee cake.
So you can
Heard
go
about
to
that.
Sam's there for you fellow Northsiders, right around 71st and Keystone.
Or you can join me in the Village of West Clay.
Oh, there you go.
They have 'em there.
But you walk in and they have them frozen, a smaller or a larger, and you can just go Tuesday night, Wednesday night. You can pick them up, grab it, and then you are set. You will be the hit of Thanksgiving. So that's what I take. I love cranberry sauce, but I want like the ocean spray out of the can, like with the ridges, like just I love it. The homemade stuff I don't like as much. Like I want the jellied goo. That's what I want, and then I like to combine it with some of the stuffing.
Yeah.
Kind of mix those together.
But stuffing, stuffing, I got a whole thing on.
Whoa.
Stuffing, I got
Then
a
you're
whole
just not
thing on.
preparing it well.
I know, but don't. If you eat stuffing and it's soggy in the middle, get out of here. You got to burn your stuffing,
Oh, I like
ladies
the
and
crispy
gentlemen.
stuffing. I
You
go for
have
the
to-
corners.
Yes, you have to burn
Yeah, I
it.
like
And
the
if we're going to
edges.
get into mac and cheese, which some people have and some people
I'm
don't,
not a big mac
it's
and
not
cheese.
going to be soupy. You got to crush those corners too and make that top brown, make that cheese bake. It's a must. I'm not going anywhere near your mac and cheese unless it's been through. It's 10 extra minutes in the oven, is what I'm saying. That's what I
get
need
that.
out.
I'm on
Yeah.
board with that. Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
we jammed a lot lot into this show because of the holidays this weekend. Shaq Leonard release, obviously the Tampa Bay Bucks coming up. We got percentages galore, and it is a short week like this, but a couple of very important reminders. Follow these two. Follow this young man and this woman if you want the latest. Again, at X, at Larra Overton, at JJ Stankevitz, and of course on Colts.com. Don't forget Inside Football with Rick Venturi.
Don't forget at Hey Gorman.
At Hey Gorman, too. I won't give you much, but I'm just being honest with you.
No,
Rick,
you
all
honestly,
right?
you send better tweets than I do.
We'll be out on Wednesday with Coach Rick Venturi. That is Inside Football, giving you the blueprints for the Colts' way to beat the Buccaneers in Week 12. No official podcast on Thursday. Enjoy the bird and enjoy the burnt mac and cheese. JJ and Bill Brooks also going to bring you the instant reaction on Sunday night, recapping the Colts and Buccaneers. We end with this, Larra. We're getting into the holiday season. Are you ready? Because the reason I said that is I was driving home last night, and it was about,
It's dark at 4 o'clock.
It was like 3:20 p.m., and I was outside, and I saw the Christmas lights in the neighborhood. We got about 6 houses up. Is it too early? Thanksgiving's not even here yet. That's my question of the day is, when is the right time to throw up some Christmas lights?
They already went up in our household.
All right, I'm done with you.
No, okay, listen.
I'm done with you. What'd you do to Halloween?
No, put the Halloween decor away, and then there's about a week gap, and then the Christmas stuff goes up.
I bet you there wasn't a week gap in there. I bet you're 4 days, and you got up on the ladder, I'm betting.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
The bye week.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing during the bye week.
Time to do
Yeah,
it.
right.
Whoops,
Okay.
sorry. What's going on with Tucker and lights at your house?
Nothing. We are into December. We don't. I like to respect the tradition of Thanksgiving.
There it
I
is.
like for Thanksgiving
no rush.
to have its whole weekend
No
of
rush.
just Thanksgiving. To me, hot take here, but I think Thanksgiving is a better holiday than Christmas.
Oh, okay.
And I have a couple of
that's
reasons.
a hot take.
Here's the thing I like. You can walk around and say happy Thanksgiving all week long to everybody. And, kind of everyone's partaking in different things like that. So it's just kind of, and then there's not the obligation of the gifts and the exchanging and the pressure of all of that.
That's
It's
just food.
just about
Sitting
gathering
eat.
and being together.
The good
and
news for
watching
you,
football.
Larra, is you apparently don't have to get Tucker a gift this year after.
Tucker gifted himself. Yes, I think the best gift of all time. So yes, it's true.
If you want to know what, we don't need to throw him under the bus or the.
We don't throw Tucker under the bus here.
Under the military.
military
That's Larra's husband, by the way, for those who don't
It
know.
is.
Mr.
True.
Tucker, you guys, I'm going to
It's
get us
true.
out of trouble. Tucker, I'm on your side. Your wife, on the other hand, I don't know for a fact. But I want to say a big thanks to one of our official forefathers and pilgrims of this show, the gentleman behind the camera, Kevin Connors, today. Thank you for your help. JJ, look forward to what we got because this team is sniffing a playoff berth with these 7 games to go, and they're all winnable games. I'm not going to say we're going to do it, but boy, oh boy, you get 5 and you got double digits, you got something. Larra Overton, I want to hear about everything that went down south Indy next week when we're talking about after a big Colts victory. This is the official Colts podcast brought to you by our friends at Wynn Las Vegas. Guys, I appreciate the time. You got anything else before we go? Because like I said, it's a little bit different week. Thanksgiving's here.
Last thing that I have, if you are in town, you're around Indianapolis on Thanksgiving, come out to the Drumstick Dash. It all benefits Wheeler Mission, the largest fundraiser of the year. For Wheeler Mission, there's a 4.2 mile run and a 2.5 mile run. Family friendly. Get everybody out there, 9 o'clock. It's right there in the heart of Broad Ripple. You can walk, you can jog, you can bring the wagons and the strollers, but just an all-around great way to kick off Thanksgiving morning. Appreciate our friends at Wheeler Mission for all that they do.
Double J, anything on the way out? Give me something statistically, just so we can take it with us, put it in our back pouch for the drive to Michigan.
Yeah, you want to throw some pennies in your couch.
Give me something. Give me something. Statmaster.
No, you know what? I don't have.
48% of American households will have turkey on the table. How about something like that? Nothing?
48%? What are you talking about? Try like 90.
Well, I don't know. We're a melting pot right now, so you might have some, egg rolls over here. And you might have
my old podcast co-host, real quick. If you're not a turkey fan, in Chicago, my old podcast co-host, he and his girlfriend would just use Thanksgiving as an excuse to go get food they want. They don't really like Thanksgiving food, so they would go buy really nice steak.
Oh, yeah.
At the Paulina Meat Market in Chicago.
Boom.
Go cook that up at home.
Don't know
Great
don't know
idea.
who they are, but really like what you guys did back there. I wish we could do that myself because really this meal of turkey, and it's like once a year, and it's just like, I mean, it's a nice tradition and everything, don't get me wrong, but it's like I'm not going out of my way in October or in July to say, where's some cranberry and turkeys and stuffing right now? You know what I'm saying?
not looking for stuffing in May.
I know. I sound like I do. I sound like a dry fart. Sorry about that. But enjoy the Thanksgiving thing. Enjoy the feast and everything. Sorry we're going to let you out on that. And remember, the thing to takeaway is thank you, Shaq Leonard, for everything you brought here to this club. You did a hell of a job for the time, and we hope you do it somewhere else and can win a ring and keep on going with bigger and greater things. And more importantly, the fans. He was talking to you guys about the fans. So we are all on behalf of AJ and JJ and LO. We used to have a guy here named AJ. But on behalf of JJ and LO, that's Larra Overton, I want to thank you fans for watching us, putting up with us, watching Colts.com, following us on Twitter and everything in between, because it is an exciting football year. 7 weeks left. Colts get 5 of those 7 wins. This is a playoff team. We're going to talk about it more. Happy Thanksgiving.